Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about our programs and opportunities for faculty and students throughout the state. The Space Grant Program is a one program in the state of Florida, but it's nationwide. We have a space grant in every state of the nation. The space grant was first in the University of Florida from 1990 to 2000, and then we moved to the University of Central Florida. And I've been involved with the space grant for the last 25 years. Just to give you a quick background of what space grant is, it's a program that has been mandated by Congress. The funding goes through NASA, but it's a congressionally mandated program. It's administered by the state. So every state has a space grant program, plus Puerto Rico and DC. And it's to prepare students for careers in STEM fields and to meet the future national workforce needs. So if you look at the image out here, these are all the affiliates among the National Space Grant Program, the more than 1,000 affiliates. Florida has about 21 of them. But again, one thing is we're trying to engage students in authentic STEM-based learning experience. It could be through fellowships, scholarships, research, or provide support for interdisciplinary projects that can be flown either on a weather balloon or on rockets, or build satellites, or send experiments to the space station. And then what we do in each state is we look at what the NASA priorities are and what the state priorities are. And at the intersection is where we come in. And we provide support for faculty and students so that it can address the needs of the state, which is also a priority of NASA too. So to come back to the Florida Space Grant Program, as I said, is a part of the national program, addresses critical needs in education, research, and service, along with the Sea Grant Program and the Land Grant Program. There are 52 consortia, 50 states, Puerto Rico, and Washington, D.C. There are 22 affiliates in the state of Florida. UCF is a lead university, and it's hosted and administered by the Florida Space Institute at UCF. On the right, you see all the affiliates in the Space Grant Program, all the state universities, plus the major private universities like Embry-Riddle, University of Miami, FIT, and a couple of small colleges. But we also have the Astronaut Memorial Foundation, which is based at the Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. We have Space Florida, which is a quasi-government entity, and they give us funding for research programs. Kennedy Space Center is one of our affiliates, and the Orlando Science Center does our informal science projects, informal science programs. I don't have time to talk about all our programs. That will take a long time, but I'm going to talk briefly about the fellowships and the research, which the RFPs were released about 2 weeks ago. But I'll quickly talk about the programs. We have something called the Dissertation Improvement Fellowship Program, and I'll talk more about it in detail, along with the Master's Fellowship Program. These are for graduate students. The only criteria for the fellowships and scholarships are that the students have to be US citizens. They cannot be permanent residents, they have to be US citizens. We also provide scholarships to students at our affiliated universities, and then provide the stipend of about 8 or 9 students every year at the NASA centers if they are selected by the NASA centers. The other thing we try to focus on more are the student collaborative projects, both undergrads and grads. And again, I won't have time to talk about every one of them in detail, but you can go to our website and look at all these projects. One thing we would like to do is to encourage students to build payloads that we can launch on suborbital launch vehicles. So this year we have one project from UCF and one from Embry-Riddle that we are flying on a Blue Origin launch vehicle, New Shepard, either in the summer or the fall of this year. But we encourage students to build payloads that can be flown, and we provide the funding for both the flight and the payload. We have a rocket competition for undergraduates, focusing more on the sophomores and freshmen. It's a hybrid rocket, but it's not a very powerful rocket that we're looking at. We're looking at rockets that don't need students to be certified to do the rocket launches. And the idea is to get freshmen and sophomore build rockets at an earlier stage of their career and then go into their senior years and junior years and build more bigger rockets like sounding rockets. In fact, there is one group right now at UCF which is building a high-powered rocket to be launched hopefully next month. We support senior design projects, any senior design projects that are remotely connected with space. We have a program with the Kennedy Space Center where we take some projects mentored by Kennedy Space Center scientists. We distribute that among universities. And if they're selected, then we provide $2,000 per project. Right now, there are about 6 or 7 teams participating in these projects. 2 of them are from UCF. And one of the things that they're doing is to come up, is building CubeSats that can be launched with the help of folks at Kennedy Space Center. We also encourage students to take part in robotic competitions, NASA competitions like the robotic mining, launch initiative, human robot challenge. There's something called the Big Idea Challenge, which was introduced last year. And this year there were 7 teams selected nationwide, and all the teams was from UCF, led by Dr. Zai. So that's very prestigious that among all the teams across the nation, UCF is one of the 7 selected. We also have a program which we call an academy program, again for freshmen and sophomores. And what we do is we get 16 students across the state, we select them, we take them to the Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex for 3 days, 3.5 days. We house them in a hotel, and then they sit together to work on a project a payload that can be flown on a weather balloon. It's free to the student except driving to the Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. We are working on a spacecraft rover competition where we have educational license from Kennedy Space Center on their what is called the Razor rover. It's a mini rover, and we are trying to get spacecraft students, Florida students, to work on a competition that will be a 3-year competition. And again, details will be posted on the website soon. It's not yet ready. And then we support student club projects. If the student clubs trying to work on projects, we can provide support for them. I'm going to talk about the space research and the technology development program separately, but this is funding of $25K to faculty to support undergrad and grad students on research programs. And then we are mostly a higher education program, so most of our support is for pre-service and in-service teacher workshops through the Challenger Learning Center. We also support the Florida Engineering Educators Conference at UCF through the College of Engineering. And then we have a public library rover competition. We're trying to target libraries in underserved areas, and we target middle school students to take part in a small rover competition, which is all done online. And finally, our informal education programs are with the Goddard Space Flight Center and University of Florida on a what is called Radio Joe, monitoring the radio waves from Jupiter and the Sun. And the other one is programs with the Orlando Science Center. So for the fellowship programs, we provide $5,000 per student, not for the stipend, but for using the funds for travel, for publications, for expenses, for the lab work, and so on. The student's salary is not allowed at all. And then we have a master's fellow. We provide $10,000 for a full-time master's students. This award can be supplemented by other funding from the university. It's only for 1 year. And of course, they have to be a US citizen to take part. And again, if you go to the website, the request for fellowship has been released, and you can apply for them. Most of the, because UCF is a lead institution, I get most of the proposals from UCF. So a lot of the funding of all these programs go to UCF faculty and students. Our flagship program is a research program which is jointly funded by Space Space Florida, and Space Grant. We have four categories which are defined mostly by NASA's mission directorates. So anything that is of importance to this four NASA mission directors is good for us too. 25K is the maximum award. We need 50% matching. One thing to note that the indirect cost is limited to 10%, so you have a lot more direct costs to work with. And you can use the indirect, waived indirect as matching. Student support is essential, and they have to be US citizens. The faculty can be the PI can be a non-US citizen as long as they don't have not requested funding for their salary or travel. So these are the different categories we have, and you can go to the website and look at the different mission directorates priorities, and you can apply on topics related to each of them. Finally, we have what is called the KAC Technology Development Program. And the idea is that at the Kennedy Space Center, there are a number of patented inventions which are still not matured enough to be interesting to industry. So they need some kind of proof of concept in a lab environment. It has a strong commercial potential, but it's too risky for industry to invest in it. So that's where Space Grant comes in. We provide that gap between the end of the NASA investment and the beginning of the industry investment. So we provide some funding that they can go further ahead with certain topics that can be ready for commercialization. So every year we provide 2 topics that is given to us by Kennedy Space Center Direct Transfer Office. We ask for further development for commercial applications. The KSA inventors provide the evaluation, and we select 2 proposals to support every year. This year the two topics are non-contact position sensor and flexible body control using fiber optic sensors. And I won't go through them in details because I'm not an engineer, but you can go to the website and get more details on the topics. I know this inductive non-contact position sensor was used to detect defects in the shuttle window. And then you have the sensors for the flexible body control. You're welcome to go to the website, or you can contact me if you need more details. Finally, this is the deadline. The April 23rd, I need a notice of intent. I just need an abstract. I don't need a budget, so you don't have to go through the new rules of UCF trying to approve these notices of intent. The proposals are due May 21st and will announce by July 16th. And funding will begin the beginning of August. These are the acknowledgements. Dr. Klonoff and Ray Lugo, they have been providing support to this program for the last 10, 15 years. And Tony Gannon, who's the Vice President for Research and Innovation at Space Florida, they have been giving us funds for the research program for the last 15 years. And of course, I cannot acknowledge all the students. There have been about 420 students the last 5 years supported by the Florida Space Grant, $3.3 million in research funding, and about 3,800 K-12 teachers and students taking part in the program. So I'll stop right here and answer any questions if you have any.